hockey fans. T-Boss is 13-3 here with another top shelf guest. Former Minnesota North Star, Washington Capital, Ottawa Senator, Toronto Maple Leaf, and two-time NHL All-Star Don Beaupre. This episode is sponsored by the Chippewa Steel, Riverside Bike and Skate, Raleigh's Coach Club, Market and Johnson, Williams Diamond Center, and Kelly Heating and Electric. Mogi.
Hey, we can't thank you enough, Don, for coming up and sitting down for an interview with us. We are here at Tom Reed's Hockey City Pub, and we actually met Don at the NHL Alumni Room, and it kind of seemed like it was goalie night up there that night. Of course, we had you, we had Carl Wetzel, we had Pete Lopresti and Bob Mason, and every time we turned around, there was a goalie sitting there. So I don't know if you guys had that planned out or whatever, but thanks so much for agreeing to sit down and talk with us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Good to be here, and good to be here back at Tom Reed's again.
It's probably a home away from home for some of you guys that played for the North Stars or actually in the NHL. Is this a hangout for you guys every once in a while?
I haven't been here for a while, so myself, I kind of get to the games and get back out and get home, so I got to get to bed early. But but when I get a chance to come down here, this is usually where I go if I'm going to get a bite to eat or whatever. So, and it's always great when Tom's here. So if I do come down here or know I'm coming down here, I usually try to text him and see if he's around. So.
Yeah,
nice.
Shoot the breeze, tell some old stories.
So Tom's good at that. Yeah, it's always fun to sit with him and talk.
So do you have the poutine when you come down here?
No. I didn't grow up eating poutine. I grew up near Toronto, and not a lot of poutine there.
No kidding.
Farther east, you go into Quebec. That's where the poutine. That's where I first heard about poutine when first went to Quebec and played there with the North Stars.
Let's talk about your youth here. Mogi here is our history buff, and he said he found two hometowns for you during his research, Waterloo and Kitchener, Ontario. Which one is hometown?
Well, Waterloo is, but I mean, when I first came here and they give you the questionnaires and you fill them out and it's like, well, the hospital where I was born was Kitchener, but I lived in Waterloo, so I put Kitchener until I finally figured out what they're really looking for. Is I'm from Waterloo, and I started putting Waterloo, but everything got mixed up on trading cards or wherever it came, and that's kind of where that mess came from.
So you grew up kind of in were they called kind of the Twin Cities then up in that area?
Not kind of. They were the Twin Cities. So it's totally ironic that I came here in more Twin Cities.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's all I know is Twin Cities, I guess. But Kitchener, Waterloo, Twin Cities, all the way up through, and still the Twin Cities now.
Were you a rink rat growing up? Young kid on the rink all the time?
Yeah, we had, street hockey. And a good friend of mine, we built a rink in his backyard all the time, and they had boards and screens and nets and lights, and we had a great time. So we, as much as we could, we were out there. So we were always skating there. And then obviously, I didn't grow up playing outside hockey at all. It was really when I found out kids played outside hockey. For organized hockey, I was really surprised. And I played my junior hockey in Sudbury, Ontario, and the Billett family I was with, their son played outdoor hockey, and remember going there and standing in the snowbank wondering what's going on. But anyway, so we had pretty good facilities growing up.
Nice. So when you originally started playing junior, you played with your hometown Waterloo Siskins, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Okay, so you're a young guy, you're playing junior B hockey. So how did you balance your school and your travel and everything with that team?
Well, that's just a local team. I think our longest trip would be 40 minutes or something. Okay. So it wasn't bad at all. But that was a great time for me. I think I started playing, I forget more than I remember, but I think I was 15 and I was playing a few games with them. And it was fun because my oldest brother was playing. And we got to play together for 1 year, and nice. And that was super fun. And I wish it would have been more, but too many years between us, so I just kind of snuck in there and played a few games, and the one season played the playoffs, and then he overaged, and then the next year I played the full year. So anyway, but it was super fun for a while.
Well, having this older brother, did he stick you in the net when you were young? So that was kind of, the kid that couldn't skate, or the younger brother, you always put him between the pipes and rifled at him?
Yeah, no, I was stupid enough back then that I went in the net voluntarily. But that was fun because when we started playing organized hockey and No, he's like 5 years older than me, but organized hockey, it was every, when you're 7 and 8 years old, it was every Saturday morning, half ice, 1 hour. That was it. There was no practices in between during the week, no nothing. So I don't know how many games we played back then, but I look back now, it's like it's not even close. When my kids start playing, how much they're on the ice at 7 and 8 years old, it's unbelievable. Let alone it's like, how did we ever develop and at all, and obviously not as much as they do now. They're so far ahead of us. But just to be on the ice for 1 hour for half ice, that's all the hockey we got, and you had to figure out the rest yourself.
So you talked about playing out on the road and that type of thing. Did you have pond hockey too, where you messed around playing some shinny out there too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, again, in my friend's backyard rink, as much as we could, but sometimes we got lucky and we were up against the park in our backyard, and we got lucky and we had a warm spell and everything would melt, and there's a low spot, and it was right under this one light in this park behind us, and and then you get the freezing rain. I remember skating all over the neighborhood, where it was grass, you're skating, the roads were skating, the cards. It was a phenomenal deal. But anyway, so you get a little pond type hockey there. We weren't really near a pond, but the outdoor rink we built was really kind of took care of all that.
Nice. Was there high school hockey for you then, or did you have to go directly into juniors?
Yeah, no, you played for your city. So I played for Waterloo and then played junior B for Waterloo before I got drafted to play major junior in Ontario.
Okay.
High school hockey was for the guys that didn't play, rep hockey, but I understand it's coming a long way now. So it's come along, just like college hockey in Canada has come a long way. It used to be a lot of junior A guys and that overaged play college hockey and that, but now now it's getting a lot more competitive and a lot better hockey in general, and it's more of a destination for guys. So
how did you end up in Sudbury then?
I was drafted. So I was after my 1 year junior B, I was turning 17, and that summer I got drafted. It was kind of strange because, I played a lot of baseball when I was a kid. Now, so in summer I was just worried about baseball. We played almost every day, and we had some good players, and we won some championships. It was a lot of fun. So I remember coming home one time and I was eating, the phone rings, and Sudbury Wolves. This is, Joe Drago, general manager of the Sudbury Wolves, and it was a Friday, and if we draft you tomorrow, will you come play for us? And I'm like, eating dinner. It's like, okay, sure, But a few weeks earlier, Oshawa Generals, they're the ones that came. They came and made a formal visit. They called and wanted to visit with my parents and I was really set on playing there. And then after I got drafted, I'm like, I don't want to go there. I want to go to Oshawa. I don't, and I told them I'm not coming, whatever. And I went up and visited, and they're nice people, and I went there, and I'm not, one to rock the boat or anything like that. I went and played there, and I played my 2 years there, and came to the North Stars after that. So
that's a pretty cool story. When I think of the Oshawa Generals, isn't that where Bobby Orr started?
Yeah.
So that's amazing that these two teams up there are getting a hold of you, so that they must be the premier of the junior hockey up in that area.
I think when Bobby Orr was there, they were an affiliate of the Bruins. That's when all the teams used to be affiliates of NHL teams. Kitchener Rangers are the Rangers because New York Rangers affiliate, and a lot of things like that. So so that's how Bobby Orr got there. It was affiliate. They'd recruit you to go to their junior team, and then you'd come play there. It's hard to fathom that right now, but that's the way it was done.
No, definitely. Mm-hmm. All right.
How old were you when you got drafted?
To the
North Stars.
I was 18, so in the summer when I was drafted, but I turned 19 during training camp. I remember flying. We had a few days here in Minnesota, the first day of training camp, and flying over to Sweden for a few games over there, beginning of training camp. And I remember sitting in the plane. I was sitting beside Freddie Barrett, and I'm kind of looking at my watch. I go, I just turned 19 years old just now, And anyway, I was sitting with him, and he was a veteran, and but I remember sitting with him. He's such a good guy, and just kind of one of those moments that stick with you.
So. What an experience! You're on the plane, going overseas to play in Europe. You're turning 19. You're sitting next to a veteran.
Pinch me moment, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, you were drafted 33rd overall. And were you surprised to get the phone call, or did you go to the draft?
No, and I think, you know what? Someone said that was the first year players went to the draft. My agent invited, it was in Montreal, my agent invited my dad and I and got us in flight, I think that was the first time I ever flew. Anyway, maybe second. Anyway, we went there. But he told her, Minnesota wants to draft you in the second round with the first pick, whatever, number 33rd, I guess it was. And that's where I went. So he was right on. Yeah, he was right on the nose. Yeah. So
any connection between 33rd in the draft and number 33 on your jersey?
No, but that would be a good story. But because you guys just told me, I can remember it was 33rd. And but I remember right when I made the team, and one of the trainers said to me, "Hey, you're wearing number 1, but you don't need to wear number 1. You can pick any number you want."
Okay.
I said, well, okay. I've always worn number 1 as a kid. You had the jerseys, in minor hockey, it was 1 to 18 were the numbers, no 13 because that was unlucky. So goalies were either number 1 or number 18. And I always picked number 1 because 18 wasn't a goalie number, So I had number 1 in junior. I wore number 1 in Sudbury. And then, hey, I got a choice. And I don't know why I picked 33. I really don't, One time I said, well, I can play down 33. That would be great. It's like, anyway, but that's a reason. But I like your story better. I like getting picked 33rd. I'm going to go with that for now.
All right, we'll go with that.
Okay.
All right,
yeah.
way to go, Moog. What did the North Stars see in you? What talent did you bring that they wanted you on the team?
Well, I know there's some quotes from Gump Worsley, who was the goalie coach then, and I guess he scouted me a lot. And I played for Sudbury. You weren't really a tight defensive team. I saw a lot of shots, and I don't remember what I was doing. I was just playing hockey and having fun, and that's why I liked it. Like a hockey career, as a kid, like you'd sit and you watch Hockey Night in Canada and the Leafs every night, where I grew up in the Twin Cities, Kitchener, Waterloo, and you'd watch and boy, that would be neat to play. But you just playing. I played for fun. I played street hockey for fun. I played with my buddies for fun. I had nothing but fun playing. I mean, right up to the end when I was on the ice, it was always fun playing. It was sometimes off the ice, it wasn't as fun. As far as like when I was in Newfoundland, my last few months for the Leafs farm team, that wasn't really a lot of fun, but playing on the ice was fun. But anyway, that was kind of a time when I just wanted to just play, because playing was all about, and any aspirations of a career wasn't in my mind at all. It says I want to get to the next level. I want to succeed. I want to do well, but I want to do well at everything. Was it baseball or school or whatever, I do want to do my best. And that was what I did. And it really wasn't until probably middle of my first year junior or second year junior, where they go, well, I could be drafted then. And I was told you could. It's like, oh, really? The next step's the NHL. I just kind of woke up then. I go, wow, that's kind of something. And luckily, I think the year before, I think it was Tom McCarthy. I think they wouldn't let you. It was 19 was the age to get drafted.
Okay.
And I think he went to court over it. And I could be wrong on that, but I think it was him or somebody to get the age to 18 years old. Okay. To get drafted, because they couldn't keep you from working. You're 18 years old, So legally it was a league rule or whatever. They had to sue the league or whatever. And he got drafted and opened the door for me the next year. And I got drafted. So,
kudos to him for helping you out in that regard.
Yeah, exactly right. And probably a lot of other guys, and then Gretzky and those guys, they went to WHA, but they didn't have that rule. They went really young, Craig Hartsburg, went super young, and Rob Ramage, and I forget all the other guys that went to the WHA back then. But anyway, that was kind of the NHL. So it kind of opened the door for me and to get drafted and then who knew? I'd have stuck around a bit. Who knows how these things turn out.
17 years.
Yeah.
Wow, what a career.
What do you find in yourself that was your strength and your weakness when you were playing net?
Looking back now, a lot of years at 63, it's been 25 years or something like that since I played. And yeah, you look at things and you don't remember them the way you used to or thought you did or the way they were. And sometimes you see the odd video and go, I don't remember it that way. So anyway, it's like I look at video now. It's like, how did I ever stop anything? You weighed 150 pounds and you started and had this little equipment and it's unbelievable, when you see compared to now. But it was just you just played for fun. Anyway, it was just a good time, and I guess I never took it serious until you start playing. I came here, started playing, and things are going well, and it probably wasn't until you get a house and a mortgage and then you get sent down for a conditioning stint and a pay cut. Then you start to think, oh, this is a business. So anyway,
damn, huh?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
So you talk about that start. You made the North Stars out of camp. You had a sensational rookie year. You made the All-Star team, and the North Stars went all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. What an unbelievable first year. Have you had a chance to reflect on that magical season over the years? I mean, did you think that's the way it was going to be the rest of your whole career?
Not at all. You know what? I remember this moment just like the one with Freddie Barrett in the plane, and we were sitting in a meeting after we beat Calgary, and we were going to play the Islanders in the final, and we were in the locker room at Met Center, and I think all the coaches were there and all the players and trainers, and we're just talking about what we're going to be doing here and what's coming up in the final. And I remember Al McAdam was there, and Al was a quiet guy but very reflective guy. And if he talked, you listened, because it was worth listening to. And Al's really slow, and methodical. And he goes, guys, it's a lot of guys in here. This is probably our last chance at this to win the Stanley Cup. Okay. And he just kind of give it the old pause, and he goes, you know what? It might be all of our last chance here. And I'm there, and I'm 19 years old, and it was just a season. I didn't know it wasn't a season to remember, it was just another season to me and just doing the best you can. But it turned out I never got back there again. So, but just it hit me at that time, and I remembered, how important, who knew I was going to play 17 years and all these teams and not another Stanley Cup chance. So went to the semifinal a few times, but not to the final. He was right. He was right. And like I say, I'm 19 and young and dumb and don't remember, but it just, I respected Al a lot. And when he said that, obviously I'm telling you the story because it hit home with me. So,
yeah.
Wow. Well, obviously he was a leader in the locker room. As you look back on that team and reflect on it, who are some of the other leaders in the locker room for that team?
Well, Paul Schmier was our captain back then, and Paul was really a character, and he kept things super loose. And, we had a lot of really young guys, with Dino Ciccarelli and myself, and Neil Braun came in then, and Steve Crissaud anyway. And then we had some old veterans like, Freddie Barrett and Gilles and a lot of guys. But I think Craig became our real leader. Paul Schmier was very vocal and very funny and kept things loose. And I thought we had a great mix of guys at that time. And it really, and a lot of guys like myself and Dino and Neil, figuring out our careers and came into our own pretty quick. And,
sure.
So things happened pretty quick and we had success there. And too bad we couldn't have kept building on that, but that's hockey, and that's sports and that's life. So that's the way it goes. But I think Craig he was captain for quite a few years, and very, very solid guy as a person and solid player. Just he had some bad luck with injuries.
So let's talk about that series, the Stanley Cup Finals against the Islanders. You guys, they took you 4-1. Okay, and you won the one game that the North Stars won. You were in net that game. What did you see as the biggest differences between the Islander team and the North Star team? What did they have that they were able to take that cup from you guys that year?
I think looking back all these years and trying to figure it out is they were just ready to win as a team. Us, the North Star, I think we had the talent to beat them. We didn't have the experience. you have to give them a check mark on their side for experience. They just did it, the year before. And who knew they're going to do it 2 more years after they beat us. So it's not as if it wasn't a fluky thing we lost to them. There's no doubt about that. I mean, so that just a super solid team. And, but we weren't ready to win. I mean, you look at a lot of teams now. I mean, you have the talent. Look at Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, the year before they won it, they had the talent for a few years. They couldn't win it. They went out 4 straight against Columbus.
Yeah. Winning the President's
right.
Trophy that year.
And by losing, they figured out how to win, and they ended up winning it 2 years in a row after that. Exactly right. So they, had everything going for them, and they weren't ready to win yet, And I look at Toronto as one of those teams, and, right now they have the talent to win, but are they ready to win? That doesn't mean, I'm looking at, I think the Wild have a great team. They've got Kaprizov is getting better every year. I mean, amazing. I think he's leading the scoring now. And,
yes.
They're like missing 2 top 6 players, forwards because of the salary cap thing, but they have the support guys. And I just look at, I think Bill Guerin's doing a great job because he's getting these support guys. Edmonton had 1st-round draft picks for how many years? Had McDavid for 8 years. Yeah. They finally made it happen because McDavid was doing, Draisaitl was doing everything he's supposed to do. It's the support guys they didn't have. I think the Wild have those guys. Bill's under the gun now to get the top guys with that $15 million that's sitting there. I've got full confidence in he's going to get it done. I mean, if you can put all the pieces behind and find the value guys and make them play up to their potential and plus some, I think they've got a great chance. But again, just because next year they got the $15 million, it doesn't mean they're ready to win yet. So if anybody out there expecting, okay, next year's the year they're going to contend, they might. Are they ready to win? Maybe, but chances are not. Chances are it might take a couple years yet.
Yeah.
When you talk about that ready to win mentality, as you look back in that series, obviously you're 19 years old. You're going out there because you're having fun and you're kind of pinching yourself around these guys. But as you look back, is there a switch that you can think of that players need to have to go from that I'm in the playoffs to I'm ready to win sort of aspect of it?
Well, personally, I look back and I never won anything playing hockey. I won championships playing baseball. I never won any hockey champ. We were always the underdog. Always, every team I played on. If we were going to win, you need great goaltending, and we never won anything, so I guess we didn't get great goaltending. But so all the way up through minor hockey and that, I think we won 1 Pee Wee tournament, and but that's about it, So have you been there before? Do you know what it's like to win? Do you know what it's like to deal with the ups and downs of winning? You don't get too high, when you're on a roll, but you go with the momentum. But when you think you're down and out, you keep plugging away and you can come back, and that all happens in a series, in a game, in a season, all that stuff, different time frames on that. So it's really, have you did it before? I'd never did it before. I personally, I don't think I was ready to win then.
Okay.
But I can't speak for the other guys, but as a team, I don't think we were quite there yet. We weren't even a team for a whole year. I mean, Dino came in partway through the year, and Neil and Steve Kristoff came in partway through the year, so it takes a lot. And you look at any championship and you look at everything it takes right from the top to the owner, commitment all the way, through the players, the coaches, the trainers, everybody involved, everybody's got to be on board, and everything's got to go right, and include injuries and right decisions and bounces and nobody getting sick and all that stuff, So it's a lot to go in there, have to go right, and the right decisions and everybody on board. And it doesn't happen. It happens to 1 team a year in hockey.
Yeah.
So
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Let's give a quick shout out to some of our sponsors. Thanks to our friends at Markin & Johnson, longtime supporters of the great game of hockey and our youth throughout the Chippewa Valley region of Wisconsin. Kelly Heating and Electric, dedicated to serving their customers' heating and electrical needs efficiently. They have been named one of Bryant's Medal of Excellence winners. They provide expert service from a friendly staff that can provide you with knowledge you need to make the best decisions on your next electrical, heating, or air conditioning project. And Williams Diamond Center is a fun and friendly place to buy your next sparkling signature piece. Whether you're looking for a custom designed engagement ring, an anniversary gift, or a self-purchase to celebrate yourself, Williams has a price point for every story and budget. Buyers and sellers, estate, jewelry, coins, and more. Mogi.
So Don, you made the Gophers, sorry, the North Stars right out of camp, and we're with them the whole year. Okay, over the next couple of years, it seemed like you were with the Stars, but you also spent some time in the minors. Was it a little bit frustrating for you knowing that you had played that first year as a rookie the whole year, and then all of a sudden, okay, I was good enough that year. What happened that now I'm down the minors and you got called back and forth? What was that like for you?
Well, there's a few conditioning stints. They were. I got hurt in my second year in training camp. I got hit in the ribs with a puck, and I was injured for a while, so I had that. And when I came back, I missed a lot of the training camp. They said, go down and play in Birmingham.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
And but that was devastating. That was totally devastating. I mean, I'm 20 years old then, and never been cut, never been sent down, I played every game, whatever for the most part, and now I'm getting sent down. It was like even I didn't get my arms around what was going on there. It was devastating. It was devastating to go down then, and it always was. It wasn't, you start in the NHL and have some success. Minors isn't where you want to be. You want to be playing for the Stanley Cup, not for anything else. But and it was tough to immaturity could be a lot of things, and you just can't comprehend what the big picture is. So, and I wasn't looking at big picture. I'm looking, this is where I want to be now. And, and I talked about a house and having a mortgage. I bought a house after my first year, and all of a sudden I'm getting a pay cut. It's like, it's like reality sets in, it's like, God, it's like in your first paycheck, and it's like, I made $20 an hour, but they took, 40% out for tax, income tax. It's like, what's going on? Reality sets in quick. So anyway, so that was, it's all those factors and that. So it was tough. And, so your head kind of is spinning a little bit and trying to figure it out, and take some time to figure out. And that's, I guess that's what happened. That's part of growing up and part of, playing major league sports. And, it's always, getting there is one thing, staying there is another thing. And there's a lot of factors in staying there. And that's not, every team you go, all along you go play Pee Wee and you make the team, and you play there 2 years, and you move up to Bantam and you make the team. And I mean, all of a sudden you look, and it took a few years, and it's like, this is probably a, 10, 15 year deal in one team. I never played in any team for 10 or 15 years. And so you don't realize, I just got drafted, other guys are getting drafted. They want to come and take your job, or, now it's like guys from all over the world want to come and take your job. They want to do what you're doing. And that's how competitive it is.
When that happened to you, when you're set down to the minors, whether it was the first time or the times after that, what do you do as a mindset to dial yourself back in to get yourself to that point where the coaches want you back up in the NHL?
Well, I found out it never helps to feel sorry for yourself and not play well. You know what? You always got to play well, because it's the only way it gives you opportunities, So I remember one time when Lou Nanny stepped down, and Ferraro was the general manager, and I forget who the coach was. Anyway, big shakeup, and a whole bunch of guys, a bunch of us that were with the team for a while, were sent down to Kalamazoo, clear waivers and sent down, and they're clearing house and they're making changes and doing whatever. And I remember I got a call from one of the guys, and they go, well, are you going to go? I go, well, yeah, you got to go. I mean, to not play isn't going to help your career, Right, yeah. At least I knew that much at that time. That was, that was 8 years into my hockey career. It's like, to not play and sit there and say I'm not going isn't going to help your career, because even if you go somewhere else, you get them to trade you if you don't like what's going on here. Now you have to go to the minors because you haven't played for 3 weeks, a month, or something like that, So it's like you got to go play and hope for the best. So, So anyway, it was, it is devastating to see that and to get sent down and to get more or less cut, at that point. And, but in the end, I asked for a trade and went to Washington, and then things kind of got rejuvenated.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So can we talk a little bit about the 83-84 season? You guys played Edmonton in the conference finals. Edmonton beat you guys. And then they went on to play the Islanders, and they beat the Islanders in the Stanley Cup. How bad did you want a rematch with the Islanders that season?
Well, you always want another chance at it. Edmonton was just coming to their own there. I know, if I remember right, and again, my memory doesn't always serve me well, Islanders and Edmonton played the first year. They met in the final, and Islanders beat them, if I'm not mistaken. And then the second time they met, then Edmonton finally beat them. So Edmonton learned, because I remember Wayne Gretzky saying they were at the Coliseum in Long Island. You walk by in the hallway, from the visitors' locker room, you have to walk by the home team locker room. Oh, and I remember doing that a lot to get to the bus. And he said you walk by after and they're sitting in there and they're expecting a big celebration and that, and a lot of guys are sitting in there, and it's they had ice bags and they're just spent, and that's what it took to win it. For them. And he looked at that and realized that's what it takes to win. I remember it was an aha moment for him.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I remember him saying sometime, but I remember walking by that locker room and seeing those guys there. And, I wish we would, 4 games to 1, I wish we would put up a better fight, but, they were obviously a great team back then, and not just beating us, they beat 3 other teams too in a row. And
quite a few Hall of Famers on that team.
Yeah, just a dynasty.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was that like facing the likes of Wayne Gretzky and the Edmonton team?
Well, I played against Wayne Gretzky as a kid. So he grew up in Brantford, which is not far from the Twin Cities, Kitchener-Waterloo.
Yeah. That I did not know. This is going to be good.
He's in Brantford. So I played baseball and hockey against him all the time, up till Pee Wee. And then he played, then went to Toronto to play hockey, and then to Sault Ste. Marie early. But I played baseball against him. I remember one time after his first year in Edmonton when he went there, and we were playing baseball against Brantford. It was a playoff game, and we're taking batting practice in our park, and in rolls this red Ferrari. And Wayne Gretzky with one of the guys he comes in a red Ferrari, and I heard that Edmonton bought it for him because he didn't qualify to win Rookie of the Year that year because he played in the WHA. So anyway, so that was kind of the last time we played, but but we played against them all the time. Yeah, exactly. And I always said that if I've never sat and talked to Wayne Gretzky, even though I played against him all these years. And I said, if I ever get to talk with him, I want to talk about baseball, not so much hockey, about the old baseball days. So we played a lot of baseball against each other.
Back when you started playing against him, whether it's baseball or hockey, as a kid, you're not really looking at an individual at that age to be the standout. But as you look back, could you tell that he was an upper-level athlete?
Oh, my God. He had so much ink when he was 10 years old. He was scoring 500 goals a year in squirt hockey. And he has picture. They had this in Canada, they had this weekend kind of magazine that came out. And he was on the cover, him and Gordie Howe. Wow. He was standing there with Gordie Howe. The picture's around somewhere. And so everybody knew he was a player back then. So, yeah, it was a big deal. I mean, we had a lot of people come up whenever we played him in our rink in Pee-wees and, squirts and Pee-wees. He would draw a lot of people. So, yeah, everybody knew back then. So,
wow. So now we fast forward into the NHL and you're facing him. Did you ever have the opportunity? I'm hoping that you were able to shut him down a few times where you could at least say, yes, I stopped him.
Well, growing up, my son had this picture in his room, and it's Wayne Gretzky on a breakaway, and we're maybe 6 or 7 feet apart, and he's putting a move on me, and I'm kind of diving. And I remember that game. It was at Met Center. He did that twice, and he scored once, and I stopped him the other time. So I told my son I stopped him that time. That was the time I stopped him. He did score the other, but that's the picture of me stopping him. So anyway,
I like it.
So, yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
So you had an unbelievable run in the 1986 season. You won 14 straight wins. And your 15th game, you were playing those pesky Edmonton Oilers, and they beat you folks, but you made 50 saves in 55 shots.
Yeah.
What a run. What was working for you at that time?
Well, at the beginning, not much, because I remember we were struggling. Lauren Henning was our coach. He was a great coach, and we were just trying to figure things out. I remember the first game of that, we were playing here. I think was it after the All-Star break? It could be wrong. Anyway, we won like 7-5 or 7-6 or something stupid, and we won, and we kept playing. And then remember, we're going along. I don't remember all the games in between there, but I remember playing in Calgary. And that was the 14th win. We won, I think, in overtime. And then 2 nights later, we're in Edmonton. I remember Lauren coming up to me. He goes, you got this streak going. What do you think about playing Edmonton? I go, hey, you know what? If you want me to play, I want to play. I don't care about the streak. We're going to do it. So, yeah. So we went in there. And I remember it was Gretzky to Curry, and Curry scored. To lose, I think it was overtime. I think you said that. Was it overtime? No, just late in the game. Anyway, but backstory there is I had a good friend. He was 20 years older than me and a business partner. And at the end, he passed away from lung cancer in the middle of my last business that I owned. But John, he gave me back then. He was a friend, and he gave me this book called The Magic of Believing. And it's just this little red book. And I used to read a chapter the afternoon of every game.
Oh.
And I started literally because things weren't going well. And I remember we went to, where did we go? I think we went to Vegas or something. I went with him. And he gave me this book then. And he said, read this. It was just positive thinking and whatever. And I read a chapter, and we won the game against, the big win against Toronto. And I read a chapter every game. And the last chapter was literally before the game in Edmonton. And when we lost it. And I lost that at reading the last chapter of that book. It's really kind of uncanny. And it took a while to piece that together. But it's like, so anyway, it was just positive thinking, and you can do it, and whatever. It was kind of old school. When you read it now, probably a lot of people will be bored, so, but it was called The Magic of Believing is the book. And that's kind of the backstory to that 14 game win streak.
That's a cool story. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
You had mentioned that you asked for a trade to Washington. Mm-hmm. One of our questions was, how did that trade occur? So obviously things weren't developing the way you'd hoped in with the North Stars after several seasons. It was time to leave.
It was time to go. I mean, the new management wanted to make changes, and they were going to make examples. And I played 8 years for the North Stars. I wasn't ready to start playing in the minors for the North Stars. I could play for anybody else. My thing is I could play for anybody else's farm team, but not this one after playing 8 years here. And I felt the way they did it, I felt humiliated. I think a lot of the other guys did too. There's Brian Lawton and Gord Dineen and some, Dave Gagne was sent down, then got called back up later and did real well. His career kind of turned around then. But and anyway, so I thought, I can't do this. So they ended up calling me up because I think it was Jarmo Millis was the goalie they were counting on back then. He had played for Finland in the Olympics the year before, and I think they won bronze, I guess, or medal, but he played pretty well. Anyway, he got sick. I got called up. Sat on the bench one game, and then we're going to Detroit, and Yzerman was coming into his own then, and I got called in the office, and Pierre Paget was the coach, and he goes, want you to play tomorrow night. We want you to pitch a shutout. And I remember I wasn't very nice to him and really out of character for me and I just said, you know what, I'll play my best, but this is BS, what's going on here. And now you want me to bail you out because you're not winning. They weren't winning at that time,
Okay.
And you're counting on me after you kind of dumped on me. I was bitter. Anyway, I think I got second star.
Oh, you played a hell of a game then.
I played a good game. We came back to Minnesota. I was, and then the other goalie, I think it was Jarmo, came back. He was sick, whatever, and I was in the press box. And then they went to send me down the next day. And I said, hey, I'm kind of done with this. So
I'd be bitter.
I asked for a trade then, and I got it. So I went to Washington. they gave up a 10th round pick for me, and 6 years later they traded me to Ottawa. Washington did, and got a 5th round pick. So I got twice. I improved.
Yeah,
I improved.
Doubled your bang for the buck.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Well, anyway.
Washington must have felt like a good move for you.
It was good. It was a good defensive team. They were very solid management. They had some solid players. I really enjoyed my time there. It took me a while to get up there. I was there. I was sent down. There was a thing called, when I was down with the North Stars, and they brought me up. I was on emergency recall because a guy got sick or something like that. I don't know all the rules. Anyway, so they called me up. When they sent me down there, I didn't have to clear waivers again, so I was kind of like in the minors.
Okay.
At that time, Washington traded for me. They had Clint Malarchuk and Pete Peters there. And so I could go down. So I was up because Pete Peters pulled his groin on the Western trip, whatever, and they got back. So I was up, kind of emergency recall for them too then. And then Pete came back, and then it was down for a couple months. And that was I played well, but it was a tough time because, I think Chicago and Buffalo were looking for goalies, and
okay.
my agent back then went AWOL on me. And I never heard from him, and it's like, I call him up. I go, hey, I hear there's 2 teams need goalies. I don't have, I'd love to go. I'm in the minors here, and can we make a deal? Can we do something? I want to go, whatever. And anyway, and that didn't work. I had to wait. They ended up trading Clint Malarchuk away closer to the end of the year then, and I came up and played, anyway, and things turned out in the end, and I ended up playing 5 more years thereafter. But yeah, a lot more details there. I don't think we have time, but
no,
it was really kind of interesting. It was really, it was. My head was spinning at that time too. Everything's going on and what wasn't going on, and yeah, you're looking for your agent to help you out, and
that wasn't Al Eagleson, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It was
I hear a lot of horror stories about him.
It was Art Kaminsky. I don't mind saying, but he was. Yeah, I don't like to throw dirt, but he just wasn't around. And asked. I said, "Where have you been here? Whatever. Oh, we've got 3 people in the hockey department." I go, "Well, nobody's calling me." And at the end of the year, I ended up firing them, and then there's more backstories. But I got a new agent then, Ron Simon from locally here, and anyway, so
things worked out better under that regime.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a lot of contract issues in Washington, holdouts and everything like that, but everything worked out in the end. So, but
yeah, you had some stellar games with the Capitals, and you guys made it to the conference finals.
Yeah. I really enjoyed playing there, and a lot of great guys on every team, but there were some great guys. I just enjoyed that area and playing there. The old Cap Center wasn't so great, but I would enjoy playing more where they are now, downtown in DC. But
that's a cool rink where they are now. Yeah.
But it's it was a great time. I thought I played my best hockey for sure there. I mean, I was ready to do that here. I knew I was going to play well in the next few years. I was 27 years old,
sure.
And I'd played 8 years in the league already, and I felt good. I was ready to do what it took with the North Stars here. I was really disappointed to get traded, so really disappointed.
So you led the NHL with 5 shutouts that year with Washington.
Yeah.
The year you guys went to the conference finals against the Penguins. So you've had a couple of deep runs into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite one, or any one that was more special or more disappointing? I'm sure the Stanley Cup Finals against the Islanders were probably the most disappointing.
Yeah, that was my first year, and not that thing you go back all the time, but it was just I remember against the Islanders standing there. I didn't go off the ice right away, and they're celebrating after we shook hands and like that, just standing there watching.
Oh,
sure. What was going on, and how it was like. Wouldn't mind, getting some of that, but probably one of my most exciting times is when I got traded to Washington. I remember sitting in the coach's office, and Brian Murray was the coach, and we're talking. Warren Strela was the goalie coach, St. Paul guy, and they're in there, and they're like, we traded for you. You've got a 500 record in the playoffs, and we think that's pretty good, And he said we really have a hard time beating Pittsburgh. And they were up against Pittsburgh a lot back then, and we were going forward when I was there too. And played, we just can't beat them, whatever. And maybe you're the goalie that can beat them. Maybe you're the guy, whatever. Well, I went down to the minors for a couple months after, when Pete Peters came back after injury.
Damn.
And it's like, what's going on? And finally came at the end. But my last year there, we ended up beating Pittsburgh in the playoffs.
Oh, yay.
And it was like winning the Stanley Cup there. And it was a big deal
That's
because I was
huge.
always, So
Was that Mario Lemieux and company?
yeah. Ironically, I think, and again, my memory, I think we had them down 1 year, 3-1. They came back and beat us 4-3. And that's the year the North Stars played them in the final.
Okay.
So it would have been great to come back here and play against the North Stars.
Yes.
In the Stanley Cup
that would've been
final, that would have been good. I didn't put that piece together for a while, but I believe that's the year that happened. We had them down 3-1, but again, a couple years later, we ended up knocking them out finally. So,
Wow, we're talking about a lot of Hall of Famers here. The people you've mentioned. As you look back in your career and you're in net, and there's a breakaway, and you look up, who's the guy you don't want to see coming down on you?
well, Mario Lemieux, definitely for one. And again, in the game, we beat Pittsburgh. I was at Cap Center. And I remember Kevin Hatcher was our best player defenseman, and he was kind of doing it all for us. And he ended up getting a high sticking penalty thrown out of the game in the first period. And we were killing penalties. And I remember Mario coming down, just a turnover at the blue line. He came a 1-on-1 and took a slap shot, and I made a split glove save. And it's like, that's probably the save I'll remember, more than any other save I made. And I'll Google it once in a while. So anyway, it's
I got to Google it.
it was really, it was like, anyway, it was, and we held them off, and that's the game, even without Kevin, how we did it. We had a lot of guys stepped up and played well, and we ended up knocking them out that game. And it was a great feeling, but anyway.
I bet. So after 12 years, you're in the league, you make the All-Star team your first year, your rookie season. 12 years later, you make your second appearance. Did you ever think that it would be 12 years between All-Star appearances?
No, I guess they don't think about the All-Star game so much until the All-Star game comes and you're on it or you're not. But yeah, you always think I want to get back. And obviously that's, when I went to Washington and I played, partway through the season, I played at the end. I was one of the goalies. Pete Peters played the games. They traded Clint Malarchuk away, and the next year they traded Pete away, and I was the only goalie. Anyway, I remember sitting in, we had a fan luncheon or whatever right before the season started, and I forget the guy who was a hockey news guy, McKenzie, whatever. Is it Dave
Bob McKenzie?
Bob McKenzie, I think. He was the speaker at the luncheon. He goes, I really like the Caps and everything, and the only, good solid defense. We had great defense, Scott Stevens and Rod Langway and a bunch of good guys, and but the only question mark, and he goes, sorry, Don, but goaltending is the only question mark we have here, and it's like, yeah, it kind of hurt, and rightfully so. I got it. I wasn't, it's like, okay, I think it was just kind of lit a fire too.
Okay.
That's how it perceived. And that's the year I ended up making the All-Star
All right,
team
good for
that
you.
year. So
You threw some gas
So
on
a
the
little
fire.
motivation
Took care of
there,
it.
yeah.
Exactly. And it's just believing in yourself, and you're going to get it done, and never believing you're not going to get it done. It's like, you know what? I guess I got to prove it over again here, and I did, and it was really a big jumping point for my career to
do that.
You kind of get recognized league wide that you're, a factor again. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got a question for you. Then Mogi's got to do a little ad read here, and that's, we talked about the guy you don't want to see coming down on you. Mm-hmm. Now you can pick any two blue liners you want, and you've named some significant guys playing the blue line. Who do you want in front of you blocking shots for you?
Well, Rod Langway was a great shot blocker. I mean, he just a big body, and he just got in the way of everything. And he was. He was probably, the best I played with in that department there. But, again, I'll go back to, Craig Hartsburg was just so good at moving the puck.
Okay.
We're not even talking about blocking shots or anything like that. You're talking about not anything because he moves the puck out. He makes such good plays and offensively just, kind of turns it up the ice and gets out of the end zone. So, I never played with a lot of Hall of Fame guys, but a lot of really, really
Real
good
solid,
guys.
yeah.
And you know what? And Craig maybe would have been. He had great talent, and everything is just injuries doesn't always allow it. So,
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's give those shout-outs JC mentioned. The Chippewa Steel is a proud sponsor of the Breakout Sessions podcast. If you're looking for a great night of hockey, a Steel game is the place to be. You can find their schedule online at chippewasteelhockey.com or by following their social media pages at Chippewa Steel Hockey. And Riverside Bike and Skate, Eau Claire's hockey headquarters, which is the oldest hockey store in the state of Wisconsin. Buy hockey gear from the people that play and know the game. And don't forget about their bicycle sales and service, as well as your paddle sports center for kayaks and canoes. And Raleigh's Coach Club in Altoona, Wisconsin, located across the street from the Altoona Ice Center on Spooner Avenue. It's been a staple in the Altoona community for decades, providing support and sponsorship for youth and adult sports. Raleigh's has your favorite beverage ready and your favorite team on the screen. JC.
Over the course of your career, if we got it right, you had 10 penalty shots. Stop 5 went in. Do you remember those shots over the years, and who the guys were that put it past you, and maybe Mario was one of the penalty shots that you did a split save on as well?
you know what? I remember only one, and that was against the Bruins in the playoffs the first year. I was with the North Stars the year we went to the Cup final, and it was against Peter McNabb, I believe.
Yep.
And I think the final score was like 6-4 or 7-5 or something like that. Big high scoring game. But the year, that before that, we had never North beat Boston in Boston. And then we had that big penalty field game during the regular season, knowing that we might play them. And then anyway, so it was a big game. Gilles played the first game in Boston. We won. I played the second game, I don't remember. But Peter McNabb had a penalty shot, and I stopped it. So that's the only one out of 10. If there's 9 more, you know more than me.
You also stopped Jaromir Jagr.
Okay.
You stopped Mark Recchi. But Wayne and Eric Lindros did score on you.
Oh, did they?
Yes. Hey,
lucky. They're lucky.
That's pretty darn good. Those guys are some studs.
Go ahead, Moog.
Oh, I was just going to mention to our listeners here that a set of your goalie pads hangs down here at Tom Reed's Hockey City Pub, and it's in the main room on the north wall. So if you get down here, folks, come on down, take a peek at that. So compare the gear that you wore to what those guys wear today.
Well, my son plays a little bit. He's the E-Bug, the emergency backup for the Wild. So he's dialed in on equipment and what's going on and that. And so I see what he's wearing here and there. Incredibly different. He's a little bit old school, though. But plus he can't afford all the new stuff. But I remember when my kid, so my son Connor, he played goalie. He started playing when he was about 8 years old. And then my daughter played too. So,
wow. Okay.
My daughter Isabel, she was a little goalie too and played through high school. But when I realized the stuff, when they were kids, they were wearing stuff that was better than what I finished my career with. I knew there was things came a long way. These 9, 10-year-olds are wearing better equipment than I wore as a pro, as a few years earlier. So anyway, things came a long way. But yeah, it's amazing how light it is. I mean, they get hit, they don't flinch. I think if they get hit in the head, slim chance, unless something really weird goes on, they should just keep playing, I think, because I got hit in the head a lot and with the same type mass, and I guess a little bit better, but obviously shoot a little harder. But just hitting the shoulders, I remember Gilles Malache having green shoulders, from getting hit. It's like wearing a stitching on a T-shirt. That's the kind of arm pads we had and chest pad. And you'd feel it through the pads, the old pads we wore, like the ones on the wall. And Tom's here. I'd wear 2 pairs a year, and they're tough to break in, those pads. It's all deer hair inside there stuffed.
Yeah.
But it would all start to drop to the bottom. Your hair would drop to the bottom, of the pad. So you get kind of fat on the bottom. There wouldn't be much in the knees. So eventually you'd get hit in the knees or where the straps pull in. Eventually, I think Carl Wetzel's over there that you can see they're pulled in so much where the strap is, you get hit there. There's no padding there. It's all the strap had pulled it out over, putting them on every day. And so,
sure enough, you'd get hit there.
And you'd get hit there once in a while, or you'd bent whatever and you'd get it. And let alone in the thighs was terrible because the pants, they weren't very good. They weren't very good. So see, you get hit in the shoulders, the arms, the hands, the thighs, the legs. Yeah, it's probably everything. It hurt everything. Yeah.
And the masks have evolutionized from what you wore. You wore a helmet with just what a player would wear now for a mask back in those days.
Yeah, I wore the helmet by choice. I kind of liked it better. There's a guy, this Greg Harrison, he made masks in Toronto, ended up making masks for me at the end. My last year at the North Stars, I wore the mask with the fiberglass and then the cage over the eyes. But you're right, before that I wore the helmet and cage. It's funny because I wore that for so long, yet when my kids said they want to be a goalie, first thing I bought them was a real goalie mask because I know that cage and helmet, what a forward would wear, isn't made to stop a puck. They're not made to take a puck square on. So I made sure they had a real goalie mask on, and they felt like a goalie too, I think too. So it was psychologically was good for them. But for me, it was like, that's not safe what you're wearing as a forward. So
yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. As a dad, it's like, I want what's best for my kids.
Yeah.
And they need to be protected. Yeah. So you excelled in the net at a height of 5'8". Okay. And you look at modern day goalies now. I mean, we see probably, I was going to look this up and I didn't, and I apologize, but I got to believe the average is somewhere around 6'2". I mean, there's some guys a little shorter, but some guys a lot taller. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that evolution?
Well, being so big and all that new big equipment and everything, I don't know how they let any goals in. I don't know. True. What's wrong with these guys? Yeah. I mean, the net's the same size. The puck's the same size. What the heck?
Right.
No, it's amazing, though. I mean, but I think the goal equipment followed after, sticks, and the skates are so much better. They skate faster. They shoot so much better. The training's so much better. They just their technique to shoot and pass is so much better, and the play's so lateral. It's they would get hurt so much how hard they shoot it. And I talked to my son about it because he practices with the Wild once in a while, and how hard these guys shoot. And you just can't move that fast. You need to be bigger. There's no way there'd be way more goals than back in the 80s. I mean, there was a ton of goals. Yep. It's unbelievable. So yeah, I respect everything these goalies are doing. I mean, they have to be more athletic than ever, and even with the bigger equipment and being taller. But hey, the athletic guys were guys at 5'8" when I played. Those are the athletic guys then. Yep. Now the guys are athletic at 6'4". I mean, and I heard they don't even look at you unless you're 6'3" or taller. They don't even want to deal with you as a goalie. So it's really unusual if anybody breaks in. At 6 feet or 6'1" or 2 is even not enough. So
yeah, the era of you and Darren Pang are slowly diminishing.
I know Darren Pang. I forget who was telling this story. We're with the North Stars and playing the Blackhawks, and someone told the story a day later or after, and Pang was in the net or whatever, and maybe it was Willie Platt, and he knew somebody skate around and said to somebody on the Chicago team, he goes, "Where's the rest of your goalie?" That's what he said. Darren Pang. Anyway, I mean, he was tiny. I can't believe you watched the video. And I played with him a couple years after I retired in the down in Tampa Bay in an All-Star game, a Heroes of Hockey game. And It was kind of neat. Gordie Howe played, but Darren Pang was the other goalie. And I couldn't believe standing beside him. I felt big.
Yeah.
Yes. What a nice guy, though. God, he does a good job doing the color on games and that.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You tell the story about Darren Pang. As you look back, are there any other stories that you can share with us, whether it's, the rookie introduction to a team or some stories on the road that you guys shared, or the jokester on the plane or whatever, and anything that comes out of your memory banks that you could share with us?
Well, I mean, you guys say something that triggers stories. I'm not a story guy to say. Tom Reed here. Tom's a
story guy.
Tom's a story guy. He remembers all this stuff. He's so great at it. Yeah, and can tell it really well too. Not just as a story, he can tell a story. So, yeah, I mean, there's nothing particular. I mean, I just remember. And you hear guys that retire and played or whatever, just being in the locker room. And I tell everybody it's you could be on a losing streak, but when you've got 23 guys in the locker room and trainers and coaches and that, every day there was something to laugh about, and that was probably the best part about it. When I started a business and with the people, it was kind of we had pretty good success, but that was always my goal is to. Hey, we can be serious and do this because it means a lot to everybody. It's their living, and why we're here is to make money and support our families. But we can have fun when we do this too, So I think out of hockey, that's kind of what I took out of there. It's like we can have some laughs while we're doing this serious stuff, whatever, and get serious about this. But in hockey, I always remember just about every day there was something to laugh about. There's somebody did something or said something or something happened that you could laugh about, no matter what, if you're in first place or last place or on a 5-game winning streak or losing streak, So that was probably the fun part about hockey and what I remember most, just being around that many guys and interacting and always laughing about something. So
good memories. Moog?
Oh, I was just, you mentioned your company. You went into business, so you had an aerial, Beaupre aerial equipment company. Mm-hmm. So where did that come from? I mean, how did you get involved with that?
Well, my best friend growing up, the one I mentioned earlier, had the rink in the backyard. So his family, they had equipment rental business. So
okay,
and so I saw that as a kid, and they're pretty successful at it. I think they had like 9 or 10 branches in Southern Ontario, and they kind of rented everything, and so he was doing that. And then he ended up selling their company to United Rentals, which is the biggest rental company in the world, and they sold out, whatever. And soon after he sold out, I retired from hockey and got in the rental business, which is so ironic, he got out, I got in, and anyway, so that's where I started. But so I saw it then, and I had a couple partners when I started, and in the end, partnerships don't always work out, and I had mine with I had a partner too, the guy John, who gave me the book of Magic of Believing book. Sure. Okay. He was an entrepreneur, and he got me in a lot of business deals too, and some buildings and stuff we're partners in with some other people and some business. But so he was my partner in that, and anyway, so it was a fun business too. I think I got as much out of that as I did hockey. I just had a great time. I thought it was super interesting. I was, when I was retired from hockey, it's like I could have played. I had a couple offers to play in the minors or whatever, and maybe get my career jump started again. But I said, that's it. I'm ready to move on. And luckily, I found something I could do. And ironically, it was something the same opportunity. My buddy was in the rental business, and I got in there, and anyway, I had like a 19-year run in that and sold it, and here I am. So anyway, yeah.
Enjoying life.
Nice. Yeah.
I got 2 more questions for you. Sure. The first one's an easy one, quick one. You still got all your chiclets. You were able to keep them all.
Yeah.
As a goaltender, was your mom one that was a staunch supporter? You had to wear your mask and mouth guard?
Well, when you play organized hockey, it was a rule, so you had to wear it. Yeah. So it's as good or bad as the masks were when you were a kid. We wore like lacrosse masks, and but kids don't shoot as hard as they do now. Even at squirts, they just don't. So the puck stayed down low, and it always hurt as much as it always did, but right? But never get up in the mouth. And when we were playing on the street or playing in the backyard rink, and luckily I never took a stick and got whacked, but
maybe it's just because you were so quick you were able to catch the sticker puck before got up to the mouth.
Well, could be, there's something like that. But I tell you what, and I talk about how much the puck hurt, and I played a lot of baseball and first base or whatever, so I used my glove a lot, and I was kind of known, my glove hand was kind of But I used to catch kind of it all over because I didn't want it to hit me. I mean, these guys now, they block the puck and they come in and shoot. It's like I'm catching everything, back then, because I don't want to hit me in the arms. I don't want it to hit me in the chest. I want to catch the puck, because
doesn't hurt that way.
it hurt, but not as much as taking out. So
the web up there.
Yeah, if you get it in the web, but it's not always that way.
In the palm, it's a little different ball game.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly.
We didn't really touch on your time with the Senators and the Maple Leafs, and those were kind of short stints compared to the Capitals and the North Stars. Kind of a bitter release from the North Stars, but as you look back on your career, which stop was your most favorite and why?
I think playing here in Minnesota, it was, I kind of grew up a little bit. I came here when I was 18 years old and not knowing anything. And, you travel around, you meet a lot of people and see a lot of things. And, you kind of grow up in your early 20s. And so I think that was it. I mean, hockey-wise, Washington was probably – I played my best hockey there. Okay. Ottawa was – just a bad experience. I got traded there. We were in last place there, and things didn't get any better. So there's a lot of turmoil there. And then I went to the Leafs, and it was an aging club. I fit right in because I was an aging player, and so that didn't work out real well. But there were short stints there anyway. But yeah. But I think here in Minnesota was, it felt like home. That's why I come back. Sure. So yeah. So I always came back here and wanted to be back here. It's no regrets. No regrets.
Glad to hear that.
What a career. You played in 740 regular season and playoff games in the NHL and 868 professional games overall. When you look back in your career, can you believe that was your career? I mean, wow, 17 years.
Yeah, but as a player, it's like, God, I could have won a few more games or could have, you know what I mean? You're always looking at it, and that's just the way it is. You look at a game and you could have made 50 stops, but it's the one that got by you. You lose or whatever. It's like only if, and that's kind of the way it is. And, I've come to grips with that now at this point. But, you think, God, could there have been more? Could have been more games? Could have been more wins? Could have been differently? My mentality, like I said earlier, it's like, it's always been an underdog growing up in that, had I had that mentality, maybe that would have took me farther to we're going to win, but until you win and win consistently, it's tough to think that way. I would guess most guys in the league are just surviving, I mean, it's so competitive, unless you're the top, 50 guys in the league, you're just finding your place all the time and making it happen and hanging on and getting the next contract. It's very fragile. It's very fragile. And I don't want to speak for everybody, but I would say that's the way it is even now. So there's a bunch of guys super confident. They got the big contract in their back pocket, expected to do a lot expected of them. There's no pressure, but it's the guys hanging on. That's the real pressure. It's like, that they want to make that their living. They want to be in the NHL. They're up, they're down, they're whatever. That's the real pressure there.
So my last question, what advice would the 63-year-old Don Beaupre give to the 18-year-old Don Beaupre just coming into his NHL career?
I always believed that I could do it. Again, when I look at tape, I look back and how big it was in the net and how much I covered the net. It's like, I don't know how the heck that ever I got anything done there. But I don't know. I think I was confident, but yeah, I think I would have looked at, keep in mind the big picture, that this is a long-term thing, not a today thing. There's going to be ups and downs. I took the downs pretty hard, and personally, we weren't winning, so I would have said to just be more even keeled, and don't take it so hard. But it's tough because you want to win and you give it your all. And it's like, if you kind of relax, say it's going to be okay, might not be okay. You need to be desperate. You need to be desperate. I was just reading a story about the Buffalo Sabres. They've lost like 5 or 6 in a row and things aren't going well. They've got tons of talent. I don't think they can be saying things are going to be okay because, they got to keep pushing, there. And, just like the Wild do and every team. I mean, it's a never ending battle. So you got to keep pushing and give it your all every day. And evaluate at the end of the season, get ready and go back at it again. And, it's a grind. There's no doubt. These 82 game schedules are unbelievable. They're unbelievable. So that's one thing fun. I'm a long way from the game, but I can see every game. I can see the players. I know what they're going through. I know what's going on in the locker room.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of neat. I find myself reflecting on that more than just the play itself and what's he thinking, what's the goalie doing. At this time he's standing there for a while or he's under siege, getting a lot of shots, and so it's kind of fun to knowing what they're going through. I don't think any of that has changed.
Yeah, probably never will either.
Yeah.
Can't take the game away.
Yeah.
It's always going to be embedded in you, and that's a great thing.
That's awesome. Yep.
Oh, Don, thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. You've been a great guest, and the stories are always the best.
They're always the best. Yep. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. It was fun to be here.
Welcome to our Meet the Steel segment with NAHL Chippewa Steel player Action Jackson Lackas.
That's awesome.
All right, welcome to the show, Jackson, and appreciate the smile on your face after I gave you a little chirp there with the Action Jackson business.
No worries. I love it. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
No problem. Go ahead, Moog.
Las Vegas, Nevada native. Tell us about growing up in Vegas and how you got involved in hockey.
Yeah, so, growing up in Vegas, not a ton of hockey, but, my dad grew up playing, so he ended up getting my brother into it, my older brother. And then I didn't really like it at first, and then I realized how much fun my brother was having. So then I was like, I got to try it out again, and then I just fell in love with it from there.
So you mentioned earlier when we were talking, your folks are from out east.
Yeah, they're both from Buffalo, New York. My dad's up in he's from Niagara Falls, New York. My mother was from Buffalo, New York. Yeah, so.
Wow, how did you end up migrating to Las Vegas? Change of jobs for your dad?
Yeah. My dad had a job in Vegas, working for his good buddy from Buffalo. So he ended up making this change, brought my mother out, and then here we are.
So Buffalo had a football game the other day, and there were like 40 inches of snow.
Yeah.
So they get a little more snow than you guys down in Vegas, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I think that was a big reason my dad actually got out of there, got to the desert, a little less snow.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your hockey as far as before the Steel, you were playing down in Arizona.
Yeah, so I spent 4 years in Arizona. It was a great time, great development, great people there. Yeah, I loved every moment of it.
So how did that work as a kid? So you're talking 4 years, so 12 years old.
Yeah, so I started playing down there. I was 13U. About, I was still 12 years old, and I had three of my buddies from Vegas also playing with me. So every Friday we would drive down to Arizona, practice until Sunday, and then drive home Sunday after practice for 2 years.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so it was a big commitment for us and our families, but, it worked out well for all of us.
Nice.
That is dedication.
That is quite a commitment. Yeah.
So you're down in Arizona. Tell us about your journey to Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin.
Yeah, so, it was a great experience in Arizona. We had a lot of fun, and then, everything comes to an end. So kind of started looking at the junior route and looking at the teams to go to, and Chippewa reached out to me and gave me the shot to come to their camp, and then made it to their training camp, and here we are now.
So we mentioned you're playing AAA, then you go to the NAHL. You're playing junior A hockey now.
Yeah.
So how big of a jump was that for you?
Yeah, it was definitely a big jump, especially with size and weight and the older guys. But it was definitely a great learning experience for me, and it was a great time.
You mentioned size and weight. You're not the biggest guy here. I think we got you listed at 5'8", 160. So I'm assuming, and you're only what, 16 years, 17 years?
17 years old.
17 years
Yes,
old.
sir,
You're going up against guys 21 years old, 6 feet tall.
Yep.
You must be just a spark plug.
Yeah. My dad always told me to just keep my legs moving and keep my head up and just play the game. The size doesn't matter.
That's true. Good advice. And we're seeing more and more of that skill coming out even in the NHL. I mean, it used to be the old clutch and grab league, but now it's just a skill league. And
Yes, sir, yeah.
talk about the guys in past generations, and they say they don't even know if they'd be able to play now.
Yeah.
It's so fast and so
yeah.
skilled.
So what is the skill set you bring to the ice that the Steel like in you?
I feel like they like my creativity and my hard work. I feel like working hard leads to great things for anyone, even if you don't have your skill that night. So I feel like just working hard and keeping the motor going is a big thing they like out of me.
Is there anybody that you pattern your game after?
I would say Patrick Kane. When I love Patrick Kane. He's been my favorite player since I was a kid. So I always try to mimic his game.
Anything to do with him being from Buffalo?
Hey, maybe that's just a connection, I guess, right?
There you go. That's pretty cool.
So who's the jokester in the Steel's locker room?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say Davis he's a big jokester, that's for sure. Cam Davis.
Sam Davis? All right.
Okay.
Does he pull any jokes on anybody, or he just likes to have a good time?
Oh, he loves to have a good time, but he always hands out a couple of jokes here and there. That's for sure.
Nice.
Keeps the locker room light.
Yeah.
So, Jack, what's the ultimate goal for you in hockey?
My ultimate goal is just to play pro hockey and try to take care of my family and just kind of just succeed, I would say. Yeah.
Well, keep working hard. You're on your way, man.
Thank you.
All right. We appreciate your time here, young man. I know you just get off the ice. You're probably a little bit tired. Probably got to get home and do some homework, too.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. You got to bang out the homework. That's for sure.
All right. Bang that out, buddy. Good job.
Ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up or a comment on your favorite social media platform. It helps Mogi and I stay in the game.
All right, and a big thanks to our special guest, Don Beaupre, as well as Action Jackson with the Chippewa Steel, as well as you folks, our faithful listeners. Please remember to do business with our sponsors, the Chippewa Steel, Riverside Bike and Skate, Raleigh's Coach Club, Market and Johnson, Williams Diamond Center, and Kelly Heating and Electric. Please follow us on your favorite social media platforms. And remember, folks, until next time, keep your head on a swivel and stay on your inside edges.